Well, who have I got? Oh my goodness, we have a returning favorite. We've got Cairo on the line, and it appears we're being invaded by Montana once again. But we've got Cairo, pronouns are they, them, calling in with concerns about gatekeeping with labels. So, Cairo, I will let you speak for yourself. What's on your mind?
Hi guys. I was thinking about, what you guys were talking about earlier with labels sometimes being a little bit toxic in our lives. And I was just thinking that the biggest issue I've had in these spaces is gatekeeping. Like the idea that you have to be like a certain type of person, or you have to act a certain way, or like be someone that isn't really you in order to conform to like some label because someone says, oh, like you're not gay enough to call yourself gay type thing, and I was thinking that that's the biggest issue that I've seen, and I see this a lot like in asexual communities. Not so much anymore, but for a while it was very much like, oh, you've had sex, you're not allowed to be ace.
Mm-hmm.
And even me,
kind of like
when
what
I was
Christy was
first
saying
kind
with
of,
the gold star.
yeah, exactly. And even when I was when I first found the label, and when I was first trying to kind of figure out who I am and like where I fit, I didn't feel comfortable taking on that label for a really long time, even though it is like, it is a label that fits me and that I feel comfortable with. I didn't feel comfortable like calling myself that because I have had sex. Like I've had sexual experiences, and it just like, I mean, to me, it was a fundamental misunderstanding of what the label means. But I've seen that so much, and I feel like that's one of the biggest, like, the biggest issues with like all these labels.
I could not agree more. And as someone with 3 biological children who identifies as gay and has been with a man, I've heard that so many times. Well, you can't be gay. You have biological children. You've obviously had sex with a woman. I'm like, yeah, at least 3 times. Bravo on the math, bud. Like, people are allowed to change. And yeah, I've totally experienced that gatekeeping. It's tough, and it's something that I think the LGBTQ plus community still kind of struggles with, and it's definitely a function of the fact that like Christy said in response to what I was saying earlier, it's, we're marginalized peoples, and we've had to sort of fight to get where we are. It's just we need to make sure and be mindful of the fact that others are still going to come and join too, and once you come in, don't slam the door and lock away the key.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
Laura, what did you have to say?
Well, yeah, so I kind of think that it sounds to me on the surface like gatekeeping has a lot to do with insecurities. And what's interesting to me about it is you have this sort of dichotomy going on within like the human experience. And that's, I want to be included and I want to be part of a group, but I also want to be excluded and different and I want to be set apart. And when too many people associate with that group, now I'm not different anymore.
It's
And so there's this sort of like tug of war between I want to be accepted and I want to be able to have that sort of place where I can call home, whatever that label might be, because I know that it associates me with other people. But at the same time, I want to be different and sort of unique. And so I don't mean to sound like I'm coming down too harshly on the people that do the gatekeeping, but in a way it speaks to their own sort of insecurities and sense of exclusivity, right? Where they sort of want to have the cake and eat it too. And I think that the more that we can reassure people and the more that we can be as inclusive as possible, no matter who the we is, the less of that gatekeeping becomes necessary. And when those specific people are dealt with gently in the sense of, well, why does it bother you that Nate calls himself gay? Why is that such a big deal to you? That, kind of having that sort of gentle conversation might sort of eliminate some of that gatekeeping. But it is interesting to me that it's there in this very almost toxic, powerful way. And it
Mhm.
really does take people away from like, you could have allies, you could have people on your side, you could have people who support you, but you're pushing them away with your gatekeeping.
Yeah. Sinn is just
And
chomping at the bit here.
it's so powerful. Sorry.
Go ahead, Cairo. No, it's fine. Go ahead, Cairo.
I was just gonna say that it's such like a powerful instinct that we even like do it to ourselves. Like we even gatekeep ourselves out of things, like because I'm not enough.
Yeah, all the time. Yeah.
Yep. So much. I agree with that. And well, I guess I got two things to say. The first one is, have you heard of the term gray ace, Cairo?
Yeah, I have.
Yes. So that's just like a good example of, another label that is kind of someone saying, well, I mostly feel this way, but every once in a while I do this anyway, regardless of that. And it's just like, again, going back to the thing, it's like none of us are going to fit into this hard line box, like, because we are all kind of fluid in this way. And, I'd say sometime maybe in the past year, I've been like, sometimes do I identify as they instead of she, and sort of questioning that, and knowing that I feel very gender fluid at certain times in certain spaces, but not all the time. But then me being like, if I start calling myself they, or if people call me that from time to time, am I taking up space in this place where like I don't really belong because I do identify as a cis woman, and most of the time, who's going to be the one telling me that I'm wrong and that this isn't okay, or like, is someone going to tell me I'm just like a trender or faker or whatever? But then when I've had somebody say that to me, like actually speak to me using that pronoun instead of she, like it made me have there was like a little glitter bomb that went off in my solar plexus. And I was like, oh, that must be what it feels like to get that sort of validating feeling. So, I think maybe just the important thing is having that sort of security within yourself and that confidence within yourself to be like, I know who I am. And it kind of doesn't matter if other people don't agree with me about my own identity. If that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. I'm super familiar with that glitter bomb feeling. That's it's a good feeling.
Yeah. I don't need it all the time. But it's nice when it happens.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Christy, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, I think I just want to point out that I feel like the neuroscience kind of backs us up here when we point out that your adjectives, your labels, your orientations, or however you want to frame it, they aren't the things that you've done. They're the person that you are. And I'm not like a member of the asexual community, and I definitely don't want to speak for such folks. But I kind of can't help but feel like if you have had sex with somebody, you now know a lot more about yourself than if you never had. If you are somebody who's ace and you never want to have sex, that's valid. I certainly wouldn't try to like coerce you or push you to have sex that you don't want to have. But the idea of keeping somebody out of the community because they were curious and then had their curiosity or their beliefs about themselves confirmed, that just makes good sense. And it seems pretty reasonable to me that these adjectives shouldn't be about who we're supposed to be or what like box we fit into so much as how we see ourselves. It's just a way of introducing yourself and letting somebody know, I'm a fan of this show. I like this type of music. I'm interested in that type of genitals or in this type of sex. Like, I think it's really silly to frame it as like a description of where you've been.
Yeah, for sure. That's why it's sometimes it's kind of difficult talking about, and feel free to cut me off if I start going on too long. But like, I find it so much easier when talking to people about my sexuality to instead of like framing it as like I don't have sex so much as like I just don't have like I don't feel attraction in the same way that other people do, right? Like I'm not sexually attracted to people, but that doesn't mean that I can't have sex and that I can't enjoy sex. Like that's one thing. People are really confused by the fact that asexual people can have and enjoy sex and be perfectly like fine, you know, but like the fact of the matter is who you are and what you like isn't like defined in such an easy and simple way. Like I don't have to feel attracted to someone in order to have sex with them. And that's fine. Like there's nothing wrong with that.
Some people make a good living out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and we don't act all confused when a straight actor kisses somebody of the same gender on film. We just say like, okay, that's just a choice that they made for whatever reason that they made it. And for us to not extend that to people in daily life, or in particular for us to not extend that same level of understanding to queer folks, that feels really more like a reflection on the speaker than anything else.
Yeah, it is a little weird that we tend to just like throw people in these, like we have our own definitions for things, and when people come to us with that word, we just kind of throw them in this box, and then we don't really like think about, well, what if this definition of this box isn't accurate completely or doesn't apply to this person.
Yeah, absolutely. Like if I could illustrate sort of, I think the point that you're trying to make, just to point out how ridiculous the whole ace thing is. Like if you as an American go to visit France and try a baguette and really, really like it, but then return to America, that doesn't mean you're French. You're still an American. You're just an American who likes baguettes. You know, there's no black and white here, and that's
exactly.
I just wanted to throw that out there because that just struck me as
well put.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
I like that. And there's one thing that both Sinn and Cairo that you guys both made me think about is that validation. We are incredibly social creatures, and we do rely on the feedback of others to build our sense of self. And so how easy is it when someone says I'm ace or I'm bi or I'm gay to just validate them and to just say, oh, awesome. Like, what does that mean to you? Or like, okay, cool. Like, how can I help reinforce that? Or how can I help support that? Right. To just give somebody the label or even just to acknowledge it and then move on. That little bit of validation goes a long, long way. So being a part of a community where maybe you feel like gay is a very specific thing, or you think that ace is a very specific thing, to be able to relax that definition to be more inclusive, the worst that it will do is make somebody feel good when you accept their label. And I just think that would go a long way.
Absolutely. Well, Cairo, we do need to move on, but I want to thank you very much for calling in, and go help yourself to a baguette, my friend. You deserve it.
Well, thank you guys so much. I really appreciated this conversation.
Awesome. You take care.